Hi, a pleasant day to all of you. I am Alia Maika Vantas Kudurat of Group 3 and I'm going to discuss to you the Making Sense of the Past Historical Interpretation of Philippine History, Chapter 3. History is the study of the past, but a more contemporary definition is centered on how it impacts the present through its consequences. If you are going to understand the history of a certain thing, we will understand the impact or result in that present. That was a question in our minds before and is a consequence of that situation in the past. Geoffrey Barraclough defines history as the attempt to discover on the basis of fragmentary evidence or ang pagsusubok na magdiskubre base sa di kumpletong pruweba o ebidensya. And significant things about the past ay yung mga bagay na mahalaga noong sinaunang panahon. Gayunpaman, isinusulat at tinitake out rin ni Geoffrey ang mga kasaysayan na nabasa natin o binabasa natin base sa mga facts. Ngunit, ang impormasyong ito na isinulat ni Geoffrey ay hindi talaga isang fact kundi isang series of accepted judgment lamang. Tulad ng mga judgments ng dating historians kung saan ay tinutukoy nila ang dapat raw na pag-intindi ng mga tao sa mga kaganapan noon. At dahil sa judgment ng historians na iyon ay nabuo ang foundation of historian interpretations. May isang code noong unang panahon ang nailabas at ininterpret ng mga historians. Ito ang The Code of Calantiao. The Code of Calantiao is a mythical legal code in the epic history Maragtas. Before it was revealed as a hoax, it was a source of pride for the people of Aklan. In fact, a history marker was installed in the town of Batan, Aklan in 1956 with the following text. The following text was, Code of Calantiao, Datu Bendahara Calantiao, 3rd Chief of Panay, born in Aklan, established his government in the peninsula of Batang, Aklan, Sakop. Considered the first Filipino lawgiver that promulgated in about 1433 about penal code now known as a Code of Calantiao, containing 18 articles. Don Marcelino Aurelia of Zaragoza, Spain, obtained the original manuscript from an old chief of Panay, which was later translated into Spanish by Rafael Murviedro Yzamani. This marker is erected upon the request of the Municipal Council of Batan, Aklan on June 1956. Pero noong 1968, nalaman na ito isang hoax lamang o fake dahil sa research ni William Henry Scott, a doctoral candidate at the University of Santo Tomas. He attributed the code to a history fiction written in 1913 by Jose E. Marco, titled Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros. Well, Marco attributed the code itself to a priest named Jose Maria Pavon. Prominent Filipino historians did not dissent to Scott's finding. But there are still some who would like to believe that the code is a legitimate document. Historians utilize facts collected from primary sources of history and then draw their own reading so that their intended audience may understand the historical event, a process that in essence makes the sense of the past. The premise is that not all primary sources are accessible to a general audience, and without proper training and background and non-history interpreting and primary sources may do more harm than good. A primary source may even cause misunderstanding, sometimes even resulting in more problems. Interpretations of the past therefore vary according to who reads primary sources, when it was read, and how it was read. As students of history, you must be well equipped to recognize different types of interpretation, why this may differ from each other, and how to critically shift the interpretations through historical evaluations. Interpretations of history events change over time. Thus, it is an important skill for a student of history to track these changes in an attempt to understand the past. Sa aking mga kabata is a poem purportedly written by Jose Rizal when he was 8 years old, and probably is one of Rizal's most prominent works. But there is no evidence to support the claim na itong tulang ito na may tanyag na linya ang hindi magmahal sa kanyang sariling wika, mahigit pa sa malansang isda, ay talagang isinulat ng ating pambansang bayani. Mas lalong tumaas ang paniniwalang hindi sa kanya ang tulang ito because the evidence against Rizal's authorship of the poem seems all unsaleable o hindi pwedeng questionin. There exists no manuscript of the poem handwritten by Rizal. The poem was first published in 1906 in a book by Hermenegildo Cruz. Cruz said he received the poem from Gabriel Beato Francisco, who claimed to have received it in 1884 from Rizal's close friend Saturnino Rosales. Rizal never mentioned writing this poem anywhere in his writings, and more importantly, he never mentioned of having a close friend by a person of Rosales. Further criticism of the poem reveals more about the wrongful attribution of the poem to Rizal. The poem was written in Tagalog and referred to the word kalayaan, but it was documented in Rizal letters that he first encountered the word through a Marcelo H. del Pilar's translation of Rizal's essay El Amor Patrio, where it was spelled as Kalayahan. So, ang native language ni Dr. Jose Rizal ay Tagalog, but he was educated in Spanish starting with his mother, Teodora Alonso. Later on, nadismaya siya sapagkat nahihirapan na siyang i-express ang kanyang sarili gamit ang kanyang native language. Well, the poem's spelling is also suspect. The use of letters K and W to replace C and U, respectively, was suggested by Rizal as an adult. Kung talagang siyang nagsulat ng tulang ito, it should use the original Spanish orthography, sapagkat Spanish na ang nakasanayan ng ating pambansang bayani sa mga oras na naisulat ang tulang iyon. Many of the things we accept as true about the past might not be the case anymore. Just because these are taught to us as facts when we were younger does not mean that it is open for interpretation. There might be conflicting and competing accounts of the past that need one's attention. Therefore, to subject to evaluation, not only the primary sources but also the historical interpretation is reliable to support our acceptance of events of the past. Now, let's talk about multiperspectivity. With several possibilities of interpreting the past, another important concept that we must note is multiperspectivity. This can be defined as a way of looking at historical events, personalities, development, culture, and societies from different perspectives. Meaning to say, if we are going to interpret something, dapat tinitingnan natin o binabase natin ito sa iba't ibang perspective o pananaw. Historical writing is by definition biased, partial, and contain preconception. This historical decides on what sources to use, what interpretation to make more apparent depending on what his end is. Historians may misinterpret evidence attending to those that suggest that a certain event happened, and then ignore the rest that goes against the evidence. Historians may omit significant facts about their subject, which makes the interpretation unbalanced. Historians may impose a certain ideology to their subject, which may not be appropriate to the period of the subject was formed. Historians may also provide a single cause for an event without considering other possible causal explanation of said event. These are just some of the way a historian may feel in his historical inference, description, and interpretation. Dapat broad ang pag-iisip natin. We should not stop our sight in one thing but explore more for us to gather more reliable informations. With multi-perspectivity as an approach in history, one must understand that historical interpretations contain discrepancies, contradiction, ambiguities, and are often the focus of dissent. Exploring multiple perspectives in history requires incorporating source materials that reflect different views of an event in history, because singular historical narrative do not provide for space to inquire and investigate. Different sources that counter each other may create space for more investigation and research, while providing more evidence truths that their sources agree on. Different kinds of sources also provide different historical truth, and official document may note different aspects of the past than, say, a memoir of an ordinary person on the same event. Different historical agents create different historical truths, and while this may be a burdensome work for the historians, it also renders more validity to the historical scholarship. Taking this in close regard in the reading of historical interpretation, it provides for the audience a more complete and richer understanding of the past. So that's all. Thank you very much for lending me your ears and attention. Now, here are the following case studies our group have prepared.
For this video, we're going to know where did the first Catholic Mass take place in the Philippines. History. History has been a way to unlock the past. We're able to know where and when a certain event happened through understanding the historiographical evidences. There are two primary sources that historians refer to identify the site of the first Mass in the country. We have Francisco Albo Lag and Antonio Pigafetta's account. Now, we will analyze the given evidences from Francisco Albo, one of the pilots of Magellan, and Antonio Pigafetta, who is the one of the member of the expeditions of Magellan. Francisco Albo. Francisco Albo, he was Magellan's pilot, one of the 18 men who returned on Victoria's ship after the circumnavigating the world. He also kept a log of the events that has occurred as the group traveled into different places in the Philippines and around the world. Take note that Masawa has the same location with Limasawa as stated in Albo's account. However, it was not mentioned in the log on whether the planting of the cross was the first Mass held here in the Philippines. Antonio Pigafetta. Antonio Pigafetta is a chronicler commissioned by the King of Spain. He also a member of the Magellan's expeditions and an eyewitness of the events, particularly in the first Mass in the Philippines. He also one of the 18 men who returned in Spain in 1522. The first Mass was held on March 31, 1521, based on Pigafetta's account. On the 28th of March of the same year, their group landed on a place called Masawa. This would mean that the Mass happened when they were staying at the island of Masawa. According to Pigafetta, the Mass was held at Masaw Butuan. If we will think of the name Masawa, it was somehow near to the name Masawa as said by Albo on his logs.
Good morning, sir. My name is Joan Ponciano, reporting from Chapter 3, part of the Philippine History Spaces for the Conflict and Controversies. My topic is about where did the first Catholic Mass take place in the Philippines. The first documented Catholic Mass in the Philippines was held on March 31, 1521. Enter Sunday, it was by Father Pedro de Valderrama of Ferdinand Magellan's expedition along the shores of what referred to in the journals of Antonio Pigafetta as Masuwa. Naganap ang unang misa ng Pilipinas noong araw ng linggo ng pagkabuhay, Marso 31, 1521, sa isang pulo ng Mazawa ayon sa mga saksing sina Antonio Pigafetta, Jones de Mapra, Francisco Albo, Anginolista Piloto, at Martin de Ayamonte. Sa lokasyon ng malawakang tinatawag sa ngayon, bagaman nakamanian bilang Limasawa. Isang maliit na pulong bayan sa dulo ng lalawigan, nakatimugang Leyte, na sinasabi ng pinagsilangan ng Romanong Katolisismo sa bansa. Who is Pedro de Valderrama? Father de Pedro de Valderrama was the only priest in Magellan's crew who was given the task of celebrating the first Holy Mass on the shores of Limasawa, an island of the tip of southern Leyte. Why it's called Lima Asawa? How Limasawa got its name? Raja Colombo, the Raja of the island, has 5 wives. That is why the place called Limasawa, which it means Lima Asawa. Hanggang dito lang naman po ang aking report. Maraming salamat.
Hi, good afternoon and Assalamualaikum. My name is Aliyah R. Macapegas, reporter from Chapter 3, part of the Philippine History Spaces for the Conflict and Controversies, which is the What Happened in Cavite Mutani. So, yun ang magiging topic natin ngayon, kung ano ang nangyari sa Cavite Mutani. So, ang Cavite Mutani is nangyari sa arsenal. Pag sinabing arsenal is paggawaan ng mga bala at paggawaan ng mga armas at bala ng Espanyol. So, ano yung dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng pag-aasa sa Cavite, Mutani? Yung mga nagtatrabaho doon, bakit sila nagkaroon? Yung mga Pilipinong nagtatrabaho doon sa arsenal is, ano yung naging dahilan nila? Bakit sila nagkaroon ng pag-aasa? Ang namumuno sa pag-aasa ng mga Pilipino sa Cavite, yung mga nagtatrabaho sa arsenal ay si Sargento Lamadrid. Opo, si Sargento Lamadrid po ang namumuno sa pag-aasa. So, based on my research, nagkaroon daw ng pag-aasa ang mga Pilipinong nagtatrabaho sa arsenal, yung sa Cavite, sa pamumuno ni Sargento Lamadrid, dahil sa pagpapataw ni Gobernador General Rafael ng personal na buwis and as employed and pulos wise servicios o sa pilitang pagtatrabaho ng mga kawal at manggagawa. Samantalang matagal na silang hindi saklaw nito. So, sa pagtatrabaho ng mga Pilipinong yung na nagtatrabaho sa arsenal is nang ma-receive nila yung kanilang sahod is nabawasan na ito, nabawasan na ang kanilang buwis. So, yun ang ibang dahilan ng pag-aasa ng mga Pilipino sa Cavite Arsenal. So, sa pamumuno ni Sargento Lamadrid, nag-asa sila sa Enero o January 1872. Pero, madaling nasoblang ng mga Spanish ang pag-asa ng mga Pilipino nyo. The mutiny quickly crashed. And ang mga Spanish under kay General Rafael is nakahanap sila ng pagkakataon, nakahanap sila ng dahilan upang masigpitan ang mga Pilipino who had been calling for governmental reform o pagbabago dito sa ating bansa. So dahil doon or dahil sa mutiny is madaming napagbintangan na kasali doon sa pag-aaksal na yon. Lalo na ang mga sundalong nagtatrabaho sa arsenal. Ang ginawa sa kanila is ipinatapon sila sa Mindanao. So, dahil sa pag-asa ng mga Pilipino sa Cavite Arsenal is nakahanap ng pagkakataon ang mga praileng Espanyol upang idamay ang tatlong pari na sina Jose Burgos, Mariano Gomez, Jacinto Zamora. So, ano na naman ang kinalaman ng Gomborsa kasi mas kilala sila bilang isang Gomborsa. So, ang kinalaman ng tatlong pari na ito is gusto nilang magkaroon ng importanteng katungkulan bilang isang pare sa simbahan na pamumunuan o kung saan pamumunuan ng mga Pilipinong pare. At narinig ng mga praileng Espanyol yon at hindi nila nagustuhan. So, dahil sa nangyaring pag-aasa sa Cavite Mutiny is nakahanap sila ng pagkakataon upang idamay itong tatlong pare na yon. At after ng ilang paghihinala, binitay sila sa harap ng publiko kung saan maraming Pilipino ang nakakita at dahil sa nangyari sa tatlong pari na yon is imbis na matakot ang mga Pilipino is tinandaan nila ito bilang pruweba na kalupitan ng mga mananakop. So, simula doon sa tatlong pari na yun na nangyari is mas nagkaroon ng pananaw or nagkaroon sila ng parang naisip nila na kailangan talaga magkaroon ng pagbabago ang ating bansa. So, hanggang dito lang po ang aking report. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.
Hello everyone, my name is Alpatayes Mantong. My report is all about Case 3 Deed Result Retract. What is retract? Ang retract ay ito yung bawin or binabawis salita. Ayon kay Dr. Jose Rizal, I declare myself in a Catholic in this religion in which I was born and educated. I wish to live and die. I retract with all my heart whatever in my words, writing, publication, and conduct has been contrary to my character as a son of the Catholic Church. I believe and confess whatever she teaches and I submit to whatever she demands. I abominate Montessori as an enemy witch of the church and as a society prohibited by the church, the diocesan prelate may as the superior ecclesiastical authority. Make public this spontaneous manifestation of the mind of in order to refer the scandal which act may have caused and so that God and people may pardon me. Bago barilin si Dr. Jose Rizal, pinirmahan niya ang isang dokumento na nagsasabi daw na siya raw ay isang Katoliko at binabawi niya lahat ng kanyang mga sinulat laban sa simbahan. Nakilalang dokumento bilang ang retraction or the retract. Dahil sa kanyang pagbabalik loob sa simbahan, ikinasal si Josephine Bracken ang kanyang uling pag-ibig. Ayon sa ilan, si Jose Rizal na pinaslang ng mga kolonyalistang Espanyol 120 years ago, December 30, 1896, ay naging bayani dahil sa kanyang mga sinulat upang wasakin ang idea ng kolonyalismo at palayain ang isip natin upang mabuo ang bansa. Ang No Limit Tangere at El Filibusterismo at ang kanyang mga sanaysay sa La Solidaridad na kumuwestiyon sa mga paniniwalang nakakabulag sa atin. Lalo na ang pagsunod sa kagustuhan ng mga frele bilang sugon ng Diyos. The Balaguer Testimony. Doubts on the retraction document abound, especially because only one eyewitness account of the writing of the document exists. Ayon kay Vicente Balaguer, kahit natagpo ng isang sinasabing dokumento ng retraction noong 1935, patuloy ang pagdududa lalo na sa itinuturing na nagiging eyewitness account ng pangyayari ang isinulat ng waiting si Padre Vicente Balaguer. The testimony of the Cuerpo de Vigilancia. Another eyewitness account surfaced in 2016 through the research of the Professor Rene R. Excelante. In his research document of the Cuerpo de Vigilancia included a report on the last hour of the Rizal writing by the Federico Moreno. The report details the statement of the Cuerpo de Vigilancia to Moreno. Sa mga dokumento ng mga espiyang Espanyol na tinatawag na Cuerpo de Vigilancia, matatagpuan ng ulat na isinulat sa araw ng kamatayan ni Rizal ni Federico Moreno na nagkukwento ng pahayag sa kanya ng isang ahente ng Cuerpo de Vigilancia, isang bantay sa selda ng Rizal. Sa makatuwid, isang additional independent eyewitness account. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. My name is Norshamay Dinunao. So my topic is case study 4, which is where did the cry rebellion happen? El Grito de Rebelión or Cry of Rebellion marks the start of the revolutionary events, identifying the places where the event happened. Happened in August 1896 at northeast of Manila, where the rebellion against the Spanish colonial was declared.
The cry of rebellion marks the start of the revolutionary events that swept the Spanish colonies in the late 19th century. This happens on August year 1896 at northeast of Manila.
These are the some persons that give different dates and places of the cry of rebellion.
So, Lieutenant Olegario Diaz identified the cry to have happened in Balintawak on August 25, 1896. Teodoro Calao marks the place to be in Kangkong, Balintawak on the last week of August 1896. Santiago Alvarez, a Katipunero and son of Mariano Alvarez, leader of the Magdiwang faction in Cavite, puts the cry in Bahay Toro in Quezon City on August 24, 1896. Pio Valenzuela, known Katipunero and privy to many events concerning the Katipunan. He stated that the cry happened in Pugadlawin on August 23, 1896. Historian Gregorio Zaide identified the cry to have happened in Balintawak on August 26, 1896. When Teodoro Agoncillo puts it at Pugadlawin on August 23, 1896, according to statements by Pio Valenzuela. On August 26, a big meeting was held in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson, then Cabero at that barrio of Caloocan. Among those who attended, they are all leaders of the Katipunan and composed the board of directors of the organization. At about 9 o'clock in the morning of August 26, the meeting was opened with Andres Bonifacio presiding and Emilio Jacinto acting as secretary. Andres Bonifacio, sensing that he was lost on the discussion, then he left the session hall and talked to the people who were waiting outside for the result of the meeting of the leaders. Andres Bonifacio persuaded the people to start a revolution by saying a fair speech. You remember the fate of our countrymen who were shot in Bagumbayan. Should we return now to the towns? The Spaniards will only shoot us. Our organization has been discovered, and we are all marked men. If we don't start the uprising, the Spaniards will get us anyway. What then, do you say? Revolt! The people shouted as one. Bonifacio persuaded the people to start the revolution by saying a fair speech, in which he said that they should start uprising because the Spaniards already know their organization, and they will get soon anyway. He wanted to return their town to fight for their freedom, and those men who were shot in Bagumbayan. Those reasons of Bonifacio made the people decide to revolt as one, and after that they were to revolt. He told them the Sedula tax was the sign of Filipinas' delivery to the Spaniards. The cry of rebellion defined a turning point when the Philippines finally refused Spanish colonial dominion over the Philippines island. In addition, the discussion was about whether or not revolution against the Spanish government should be started on August 29, 1896. After the tumultuous meeting, many of these tore the cedula certificates and shouted, "Long live Philippines," twice. There are 4 places and dates that have been identified, and these are Balintawak, Kangkong, Pugadlawin, and Bahay Toro with dates 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th of the August, year 1896. In addition, I got short film in this case for you guys to understand and clarify regarding in this case.
Mga kapatid, mga magigiting na anak ng bayan, ang inyong pagparito ay pagpapakita na hindi kayo nasisindak sa napipintong panganib.
Andres Bonifacio, Mason, taga Maynila, anak ng Tondo.
Este es el ejemplo que luego pasar.
Mula na magkaroon ng pag-aalsa sa Cavite, naging lubhang mapaghinala na ang mga Kastila.
Kagingay, dakilang ipapataw ang kaparusahang kamatayan sa garote.
Ang digmahang ito ang maglilikha ng walang tilang pagluhan ng ating mga asawa.
Animal, may araw din kayo.
Lubos na mapanganib para sa dinadala mo ang maghihintahan.
Supremo, oras na po ng pagpupulong.
Hindi sumusuko ang ating mga kapanalip. Ang tagumpay sa Cavite ay pagpapakita na kaya nating lupigin ang puwersa ng Espanya. Ang digmaang ito magdadala sa atin sa mahabang parang ng paghihingalo. Punitin para sa kalayaan! Punitin! Punitin! Lagi ninyong pakatandaan na ang kadahilanan ng ating pagbuwis ng buhay ay upang makamit ang matagal na nating minimithing kalayaan mula sa paggustay at pagkaalipin.
Don Andres, kung ano man, kung sino man, handa akong mamuna o sumunod hanggang sa dulo ng buhay.
Kaya sa halip na malugmok, ipunin ang lahat ng inyong galit. Pero kung siya lalaki, wala siyang kasalanan, maawa kayo sa kanya. Wala siyang kasalanan! Bilang gatong sa nag-aalab ng puso. Anumang sigwa ay may paghupa. Anumang kadiliman ay dadaigin ng pagbubukang liwayway. At magbabayad sa bayan ang may pagkakautang. Tumating na.
That's all, and thank you for watching.